Hello everyone, I'm Noveline Brewster and I'm pleased to host this program to explain why we need businesses to complete the Balance of Payments or BOP survey. The BOP is the record of all international transactions made by Barbadian residents and the rest of the world in a given year. Joining me to explain why we need businesses to provide this information by participating in our annual survey is Anton Belgrave, Director of the Research and Economic Analysis Department at the Central Bank of Barbados. And later in the conversation, our Bank Secretary Elson Gaskin and our Governor Dr. Kevin Greenidge will join me. Welcome, Anton.
Thank you, Noveline.
Let's jump right into it and have you give us some examples of what compose these balance of payments.
The balance of payments is basically composed of any transaction you or I would do with the rest of the world. For example, if you ordered a book from overseas on Amazon, that would be a balance of payment transaction, a very small one, hopefully. At the same time, if a company purchases another company, that would also be a balance of payment transaction. So what the balance of payments accounts attempt to do is to aggregate these transactions to give a clear picture as to the differences in transactions between our residents and those in the rest of the world.
And why is it so important that we record and measure these transactions?
The most important component of the balance of payments for us is its impact on the level of reserves. As an open economy, the Barbados economy lives and dies on the level of reserves because every aspect of our consumption has an import content, and every aspect of investment also has an import content. Without foreign reserves, we would not be able to either consume or invest to the extent as we currently do.
So let me ask you a flip question, Anton. When people do not respond to these surveys, how does that impact us as a bank and the country?
It basically degrades the level of our economic intelligence and expands the amount of ignorance in terms of our knowledge and our understanding of the economy. So this generates something called errors and omissions. This is because we have a clear sense of how much foreign reserves we have, but we don't have a clear sense of how we get to those levels of reserves. So essentially, we would be increasing the amount of misunderstanding, so to speak, of how we get to the level of reserves that we actually achieve at the end of any year.
Errors and omissions, just explain what you mean there.
Errors and omissions are basically a balancing item in the accounts. So basically, all the things you've identified are on one side. You have an outcome in terms of your reserve levels on another side. And the errors and omissions are the balancing item between the things you know and the level of reserves, basically. All the transactions that are known to you and the level of reserves.
And of course, this makes your life so much more difficult if you are not getting the information that you need for that balance.
Precisely. So you have to spend a substantial degree of time, trying to chase down companies to fill the form, to kind of shrink the level of errors and omissions. And it basically consumes substantial resources to do so. So we urgently need businesses to respond and complete the balance of payment survey forms to enhance our own understanding as to what is happening in the foreign exchange market and the accumulation of foreign reserves in this economy.
So explain for me when these forms go out, what time frame people have to respond, and just reiterate your appeal.
Okay, the forms are sent out on April 17th. So the closing date for the form is really June 9th of any year. What happens is we typically work with companies who have problems with the forms after that period. But ideally, we would like the forms to be completed in that period because this would facilitate the early aggregation and dissemination of the balance of payment statistics.
And what assistance, if any, do we provide to companies who may have challenges in completing the form?
Right. So we have a team of about 5 professionals who work substantially with these forms, led by the head of our balance of payments unit. So we can go on site physically to assist you in filling out the form, or we can collaborate with you electronically to assist you in filling the form or clarifying any questions you have on the form.
And how do you get that assistance if needed?
You basically, there's contact information on the form itself, or you can call the bank generally and ask to speak to anyone in the research department, and we will direct you to the correct persons to speak to.
We've looked at the benefits of this survey to the bank and to the country, but of course there must be some benefits for the companies completing this form, how they carry out their operations and craft their strategies.
Certainly, it would benefit a company that engages in, say, exports or imports. For example, if you are a clothing manufacturer and an exporter, you can get a sense of as to how successful you are versus the total exports of clothing, for example. So that gives you a sense of your position in the market and how that is doing over time. So tracking that over time actually gives you a sense as to how you should position your company in terms of expanding or maybe focusing on different markets, etc. In general, though, I would add, because it improves the level of economic management, it provides a better environment for businesses overall eventually. So on that reason alone, you should also look at completing the form, sorry.
Anton, as the head of the Research and Economic Analysis Department, what is your final appeal to all of those companies out there who are not compliant with completing our survey form?
Well, I would say that fundamentally, this survey form underpins our macroeconomic management of the economy. Completing the form assists substantially in improving the management of this economy. So I would urge persons, if you want to see the Barbadian economy be successful over the long term, you should complete the balance of payments form.
Thank you so much, Anton. As usual, it was a pleasure chatting with you.
And thank you, Novaline, for helping to get this most important message out to the public. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Our Bank Secretary, Elson Gaskin, joins us now to explain why it's now mandatory for companies to complete the survey. Welcome, Elson.
Thank you very much, Novaline. Happy to be here with you as usual.
As usual, it's always a delight to have conversations with you.
Thank you.
Elson, explain why it is now mandatory for companies to complete the balance of payment survey.
Well, Novaline, as you know, late in 2020, we passed a new Central Bank of Barbados Act. As you would have heard from Anton, this problem of non-responses to the balance of payment survey has been going on for some time. So when we passed that new legislation, we took the opportunity to put in a provision, Section 69 of the Act, which now makes it mandatory for individuals, companies to comply with requests for information from the central bank that will assist the bank with the discharge of any of its functions under the Act.
It's now mandatory. What is the penalty if they don't comply?
The penalty for non-compliant is a fine of $10,000. And it's $10,000 per offense, so it's not like it's a global sum or whatever that will cover you all the time. It's $10,000 on summary conviction for each non-response.
What would you say to those people who may argue the central bank is not going to impose that penalty?
I would say to those persons, try us. And I would say that because this has become such a major problem for us, that we are resolute in having the matter resolved. But we are going to go a bit further, maybe before the end of the year, and try to get legislation through Parliament, which will give us the power to impose those penalties rather than to take the matter through the court system and the time that would be associated with such. And also, as was mentioned in the budget speech, there's a possibility that government and the wider public sector will be looking at the ways how we do business with those companies which do not comply with the balance of payment survey. So we have a number of tools, so to speak, in our toolkit, and we are quite willing to use them.
Thank you very much, Elson. And your message is complete the survey or pay $10,000.
Exactly.
It's a pleasure as usual.
Thank you very much.
I now welcome Governor Dr. Kevin Greenidge, who is going to make one final pitch to companies to complete the BOP survey. Welcome, Governor. How are you today?
Thank you, Novaline. I'm doing excellent today.
as usual.
As per usual.
Yes. So, Anton, the head of our Research, Economic and Analysis Department, and our Bank Secretary, Elson Gaskin, have explained why it is critical that companies complete the BOP survey. And indeed, it is now mandatory. Governor, what would be your final appeal to all those businesses out there to get them to complete these forms for us here at the Central Bank of Barbados?
So, Noveline, as you correctly said, Anton will have pointed out all the economic benefits, etc. Alison, the bank legal secretary, spoke about the ability of the bank to impose fines to make it happen. I really want to come and say, slightly from a different angle, that I see it as a corporate responsibility, a corporate duty to do right. You know, more than often we hear persons saying, you know, what is the government doing, or what is an institution doing for them, and where can we play our part? This is an opportunity for every business to do their part. We cannot make proper economic analysis without data. And one of the areas where we don't have a lot of information, because the way it happened, is on the external sector. Ain't that anybody want to come and impose any taxes or any restrictions on the business. It is you, the business owner, doing your part to help us move our economic program forward. Without the data, we are shooting in the dark. We are not making efficient decisions to even help those same businesses. We want to be able to have sufficient and more than enough reserve to project flows and where we're going. Like going know that if I have an idea of what the businesses are doing, I think you've come to a point where we're going to move forward to collectively as one. That's what the Prime Minister's budget spoke about empowering and moving to the next level, business transformation. And I think for us to transform this economy, we have the BERT 2.0, we have everyone doing their part. Businesses must do their part. So as the central bank governor, as the CEO of this organization, I thought it important enough that I come and put my appeal. Let's do our part. Please play your part as a business owner. Take a few minutes and fill out the form, send it back in. That's all it requires. It's not going to result in anything burdens to you, nobody come looking at you. We just want to get information that we can make sound economic decisions. Bottom line, let's play our part.
Yes.
Let's do our corporate duty and get this thing finished.
The BOP is our business.
The BOP is our business. Let's play our part.
Let's play our part.
Exactly.
Thank you so much,
You're
Governor,
more
for
than
that
welcome.
appeal. And thanks to Anton and Elson, and of course, Governor Greenidge, for helping us to understand why it is indeed so critical for each company out there to complete the survey by June 9th. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, we're out of here.